Hello, my friends. I am here with the one and only NICOLAS Wilton, founder of Art to Life. Welcome, Nick.
Hey,
We were supposed to meet a few days ago, and it got really busy. Nick was like teaching, and I was sat live, and I was sitting here thinking, "Oh, I don't think he's coming." It was 5 past, 10 past, and I managed to keep talking for one whole hour just in case you turned up.
that is the worst, and I apologize to everyone for that.
No,
It's
it's fine. It's one of
many
those
moving
things.
parts, but I'm
Yeah,
so happy to be here today with all you guys.
yeah, we're excited to have you. And so, for those who don't know, this is Nicholas Wilton. Nick is founder of Art to Life, and right now is in the middle of teaching an amazing workshop that I've had so much feedback about. So I'm glad that we've brought this to you all. It's called the Art of Your Life workshop, and Nick is also opening enrollment to his CVP training, which is a 12-week program. So we've got lots to talk about in this session today. We'll be answering your questions. If anybody's been taking part in the workshops and you have questions about that, please bring them to us now. If you have questions about joining the CVP program, we'll answer those for you too. If you have just rocked up here and thinking, what is this all about? Please go and check the link above. You can still catch up on the replays of the free training, I believe until the 13th of March. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, we close enrollment on the 13th at 11:59 p.m., so next
Okay.
Wednesday.
Brilliant, brilliant. So, shall we start, Nick, with giving a recap of what the workshops have been covering so far?
Well, yeah. So the workshop where we've closed the workshop's kind of ended now, and now we're opening enrollment. But for anyone who is signed up for the workshop, the videos are all there. It's a great. It was probably the best workshop for sure. The best workshop we've ever done. It was called the Art of Your Life workshop. So a lot of people are watching those replays. A lot of people are learning the content. I was
Mm.
going over, and I went over, and I would watch that. I would go see these. We keep them available until next Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. So they go over three tools. They go over several principles, value, design, and color. But this year, I infused the program with a lot more of the life teaching and how these principles work in your life as well as your art. This is
Yeah,
a big differentiator with Art to Life. We teach art from a life perspective. We help people make the art of their life by you accessing what is meaningful to you, what brings you alive, and we get you so you're feeling amazing and clear, and then we have a better shot at making your art the same way.
yeah, that's what it's all about. And when you're in that, when you feel, and we were talking about this last week, that when you start making art more like you know, it's an intrinsic feeling, isn't it? It kind of, you become part of the art's becoming you. It's a wholeness. So, anyone here taking part, I'd love to know what has been your one takeaway from the workshop so far. And also, please do bring any questions that you have for Nick about the workshops and in relation to the course as well. I'm just going to go to the chat really quickly. Hello, everybody tuning in live. It's so good to have you here. Lisbeth says, yes, I've learned so much. The workshop is great. Fiona says, I'm interested in knowing about pricing. We're not going to be talking about that in this session, Fiona, because Nick's training is definitely more about the principles of creating, but we've got some training that we can fire over to help you with pricing. Karen says, yes, the workshops were excellent. Thank you so much. A terrific week of workshops. Thoroughly enjoyed both the lessons and the live sessions. And this is one thing I would say to people if you haven't caught up yet, because lots of people have been saying to me, I signed up and I just haven't had time to go through the training yet. If people are at that situation, Nick, what would you say they should focus on? Those core videos that you teach rather than trying to catch up on everything?
Yeah, I mean, I would what I did, the way I taught it, and I like to do this. I sent in the morning, during the week. There was really three primary ones. I sent a overview video lesson, and it's me, teaching something that's really important, but it's very concise. And because I can edit a video, I can make sure that I'm saying it in the right way. And so they're designed to be as clear and as short and as potent as possible.
Mm.
So those will give you those will be amazing. They're like 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes each.
Yeah.
But really, to really understand it, I would definitely rewatch those live studio trainings, because we're interviewing artists. I'm showing it. I'm going deeper with it. But I would start with those video lessons, and you'll know if you get excited by this thing, you'll want to learn more about it. I'm teaching a whole new approach to the way you make your art, and it has profound effects on the kind of work you make and how you show up. So it's if it speaks to you, you'll probably want to see those live sessions as well.
Yeah, I'm loving it at the moment because lots of people have come to us for the first time, and just said, "I have never ever come across concepts like this before," and it's completely opened their eyes to a different way of
Yeah,
making
yeah,
art. So,
yeah.
yeah, I would say as well, I watch the videos on double speed. You can watch them, if you haven't got,
Yes,
20 minutes feels like a long time. I got through them really quickly because you've got that
yes,
nifty button now, so you can get through it. So
yes,
there is still time to catch up because you only do this once a year, don't you? This
yeah,
particular
yeah.
training. Yeah, Fiona says, I've sadly missed them. Go and watch the replays, Fiona. You've still got access for a few more days. Karen's asking, have you ever sold or exhibited any pieces you have made during the live workshops, either as they are or after a bit more working on?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a funny thing, you guys. Usually, and I teach this a lot, when I'm teaching workshops or when I'm demonstrating or even on this call, I have my book, and I'm usually painting, I'm usually doing art and gluing things in while I'm talking. And it's crazy because, and this is just something the last year or so I've noticed that when we're making art with other people around, you can't really think about it too much. If I'm talking with you guys and I'm waiting for this paint to dry and I'm gluing things on, you're just more intuitive. And I do make work during the free workshop. I do end up fixing it or improving it a little or giving it away as part of the promotion. We're definitely doing that. I've got this is what I made yesterday on a call. And it's in a sketchbook, but this is going to be given away to a person
Oh,
one of the
okay.
people who signed up on the first day. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is crazy. It is, you think you got to be so concentrating so much, but again, it's more it's more intuitive when you're talking, and yeah, that's just sort of a fun fact that I love. The way you'll see in the workshop, I have several of my coaches here, and we are talking about the Creative Visionary Program, and we're all making art. It's just it's just fun to do that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to bring up, because we've had lots of people say how much they got out of the workshops. So a few people said they struggled with it. So I just want to bring this to the table
Right.
right now, because I know that you will have heard this a million times, having done this program for years and years and years now. And some of the things that I saw being said were, I'm scared now that knowing these principles, and I've not been aware of them before, that I've now got these feelings that I'm not a great artist, that I'm not the artist that I thought I was. And so,
Why? Yeah.
yeah,
Why? So unpack that for me, because
yeah.
it's a new something they didn't.
Yeah. So it was in my membership yesterday, and I was reading through some of the comments, and one of the ladies, who is a great artist, but she's not abstract. She creates representational, and she has, a drawing of an animal. And I think she was going through it feeling like, wow, I don't know any of this stuff. I'm just creating really intuitively, drawing something exactly as I can see it. And I've never really contemplated these principles before. And it's left her feeling a bit like, oh, maybe I'm not the artist I thought I was. I thought I was quite good, but, these principles. And I think because of the abstract element as well. And I know that this, some people get a bit tied up, don't they, with it being abstract, and actually we can apply this to representational and
Yeah.
sculpture. And so I think we should talk to that a little bit as well,
Yes.
around how it doesn't have to be just purely abstract, people that are taking your course. It
No.
can be applied. And I've taken the course, and it takes a bit of time to get your head around these principles. But when you do, And I saw this lady's artwork. She's already applying the principles. You can see them in the art, and it's obviously intuitive. So it's like they're there, but you maybe just need some help just identifying them. So
Right, right.
yeah.
If you look at a kindergartner's drawings, the compositions that little kids make with their crayons are pretty spectacular. It's because we can feel naturally where things should go. What when we put things in places that feel right to us, often it's right.
Mm.
But you know, if you're making, so these are principles. This is information to understand how to compose something, how to arrange something, but it's based on a overarching principle of what brings people alive, what makes us feel excited. And this is something that you will see if you watch those early videos, those lessons. And I'm talking about this a lot because everything ties to that. These principles are principles of differences. So, what I mean when I say differences is that when we experience something in our life that is different, that is not routine, that we haven't before, we take that trip we've been waiting to do, we go visit that friend, whatever, our birthday, anything that comes that is a little out of the ordinary, raises our energy level, our soul, the inside of us, and that's what it wants for us. It wants us to grow and evolve and experience and feel all the feels, all the things. It wants us to feel tremendous joy. It wants us to go and experience things and feel alive. And I mean, that's just sort of a good way to think about it. And when we do feel that way when we experience new things. So if you apply this to art making, which is kind of how I approach it, if we have a composition, if we have design, and I'm giving you just like 3 minutes here, but if we have something, a gigantic picture of a giant horse in a picture, and we have a small barn in the distance, we notice the smallness of the barn next to the largeness of the horse. Besides the fact that it's a horse in a barn, that's all great. But strong design has differences in it. That's what
Mm.
great design is. Design is the arrangement of shapes on a picture, but great design is variety, is differences. And we love that. So if she's doing a picture and it's realistic, that's awesome. And it is cool to see something made that's realistic. But if she can also think about how the scale of things and the differences she's putting in the picture, all the way through color differences,
Yeah.
lightness and darkness, that's what makes something really start affecting you and other people.
Yeah. And this is covered in CVP because I know these weren't questions sent in, by the way. I was stalking other people's conversations. When people are going, oh, I've seen this program, I don't know whether to join up. And then you start to see everybody's doubts and fears coming.
Absolutely.
I was writing them all down because it was
Yeah.
gold, because it's good to talk about,
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the other things, so I just wanted to say before I move on to the next thought I have is that this is definitely covered in the CVP program. I've done it before. Myself, lots of people in our community have, and so just wanted to reiterate that if you are a artist who's painting representational, that the course still fits. It's not going to be completely alien to you. It's not all talking about abstract art. It's about these principles 100%. So
Yeah, and if you watch those live studio trainings, the examples of the art I'm using, I think there's more art that's realistic than abstract, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
We have some of our coaches paint realistically,
yeah,
and we'll have photographers in the Creative Visionary program.
yeah,
You guys, it's not this. I'm not teaching a style of art making.
yeah,
I'm teaching an approach that will allow you to evolve and grow and go into any kind of art you want. The principles that you're going to learn and how you're going to learn to approach art. If you want to become a photographer, you can use this for that. If you want to become a chef, A lot of what I'm teaching relates to cooking, relates to how you lay out food. A lot of this relates to writing. A lot of this it's all the same. It's all the same. That
Yeah.
how these principles work, they're fundamental. And it's like I've written these and composed them and given them a hierarchy, and I can explain it in a way that people can understand. But I didn't come up with great design, and it's just the way people. It's just the way we are. It's the way human beings are. We love variety, and really everything I'm teaching, I'm just reminding you of what you already know, and that's why what happens for people is they progress so quickly. So don't think of this as some magical thing that I'm going to do this, but it's you becoming aware. Like you said, your one of your members feels like, oh my God, I didn't even know this. I must not be qualified. Don't feel that learning new information. Don't be afraid of that. The more perspective you have, the more awareness that you have, and this is what we're wanting to do, is create awareness for you, the better and more rich your creative expression will be.
Yeah.
If you grow up in the same small town and you're an artist and you just make art in one studio and you stay there the whole time, it'll be a certain flavor of art and amazing. But if you are able to leave and travel around the world for 2 years and come back and make art, that art will be profoundly different. And
Yeah.
it will be bigger in its reference because you have a bigger perspective. That's so important. A bigger perspective, more openness. This is what art is teaching us. Art is the process of becoming yourself, opening up,
Ooh, goosebumps.
learning new things.
That brings me on to a great question that was sent in, which was, why do people take CVP over and over again?
Yeah. Not just again, 5 times, 6 times. The reason they take it again, and it's a great question. And to us and my team and all the people that are doing it, we don't, it's so obvious, but of course
Yeah.
it looks like, well, God, they didn't learn anything. They got to do it again. You guys, what the Creative Visionary Program is, first and foremost, it's a community. It's a season that artists come together and it's like a boot camp. People come together because they recognize the fact that there's energy in a group of people that are all moving forward, and they're chasing after what it is they want and what it is they desire in their art as well as their life, actually. And when you surround yourself with those kind of people, it is really powerful. And a lot happens in 12 weeks because of it. And the content is very deep. The content, you will get a huge amount if you do this program. But what I don't say, and I'll tell you right here, right now, this is really like 2 or 3 year program. The content is so deep, you will only get so far with it because you need to assimilate and make your art and keep going. And then when you come back, you might want to make like a lot of people come back and they're finally getting their art figured out and they want to scale it up. You're not going to know, no one can teach you how to do a 6-foot painting if you're just trying to figure out color. That's not the right order. So the reason it works for people when they come back is that they are different. So the content meets people where they are. And I didn't realize this when we started the program, that people would start coming back. So we add content in every single year. So now, for example, one of the things we do is we do a series. You would do a series if you were in the program, and we do it on these 12 by 12 boards. They're right here. And this is the size board, and everyone works on these. And I do a series, you would do a series, and it's a powerful thing because we're teaching you a process. It's towards the end of the program. It's in the last third. But a lot of the alumni come back because they're doing an exhibition, and a lot of them will work larger. Their series are probably going to be on 18 by 18. So I'll be speaking to them about that as well. So it's kind of like, it's like any amazing text, right? A book of poetry. I'm not at all equating this with the Bible, but you read the Bible, you read the Torah, and you learn from it because you're in a different place. There's content in there. These are ideas and concepts that are bigger. It's not specific. It's not like this is how you do a thing. It
Mm.
is they're designed, the teaching is designed for you to grow into it and take it and learn it. And then yes, we teach color, we teach design, we teach value, all the principles. I mean, we go into color. This is a workshop that you only will need to take this workshop. You don't need any other workshops to do art for the rest of your life.
Mm.
Everything you need. I mean, I've been an artist my whole life. I've been teaching since I was 19 years old. I know this content. I know how to teach it. And I know what artists need to move forward, not just to make pretty pictures, but if people really want to do this in a serious way. First you want to make art for yourself and we have that you love. And we have loads of people that's their goal. I just want to make art that I really love. And then we have a lot of people that are wanting to do that, but then to put their art out in the world. And it's kind of the same thing because once you're getting the work that you love, that becomes highly marketable. So, yeah, that's why people come back. This is all you need, and, yeah, so that's why we have 1,700 alumni coming into this program that are coming back to do it again. We could run it just with alumni, so crazy. I know, but they're the lifeblood, you guys. You won't
Yeah, they
believe
are.
these
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
They get it. They share. It's a
Yeah.
community. This is a community of people setting an intention. It's something else, man. I mean, it really,
Yeah.
you know, uh,
Yeah, I
yeah,
will, because and I've been through the program, and I have to say that when you're going through it, it is an event, and you are part of this huge movement of everyone exploring their voice and coming with these questions, and even just attending the live calls and listening to people's questions and hearing Nick's response, and not even getting involved yourself, because a lot of the time I was sitting on the sidelines
right.
catching up when I could. And it was just so you feel part of it. You're absorbing everybody else's amazing creativity as well at the same time. That's what I felt. And lots of people in our community did comment on the amazingness of the community and how they felt part of this process for 12 weeks, being together with others. And I think for me, my art was my life for 8 years ago. And then when I set up United Art Space, my own art has taken a back seat, but it's still important to me. I'm not making to sell at the moment because I run United Art Space, but I cannot live without my own art. Like Nick was saying, it just teaches me about who I am and how I connect with all of you. And it helps me understand how I'm feeling and what's going on. And I've made art recently that has helped me link back to the art that I made 20 years ago that I couldn't see at the time. The thread that ties all my work together, I've only just discovered that. And that's from doing this process, from
Yeah.
diving back in to, connecting the dots. And you think, actually, all this work seems unrelated, but it isn't. It's coming from you. And so
No.
the more you kind of go through this process, the principles, you start to see that in your own work and yourself.
Yes.
Things
Yeah.
that seem
It's a
unrelated.
journey,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
journey. We're all on this creative path, but really the gold in it and it's a business plan. All of that is you connecting back to your authenticity, is to you doing your art and figuring that out, getting clarity. When you get clarity about what it is that excites you, that lights you up, then you start modifying things. You start editing your art. You start editing your life, and the energy. And this is really important, you guys. The fire, the energy of yourself is what will make everything possible for you. It's how you show up in the world. It's how you feel around other people. It's your confidence levels.
Yeah.
Everything is connected to going back into yourself. And that's what we're doing,
Yeah.
and it's that, but we need that energy. You need that to get into the studio, to share something. I mean, especially what you're doing where you're helping people. You need so much energy from that to
Mhm.
do that. And you got to
Yeah.
be really aligned and
Yeah.
learning and open. And
Yeah.
what would have to be true for you to make amazing art, to have galleries in all over the world, or whatever you want to do? What would have to be true? Well, you would
Mhm.
have to be living your best life. You would have to feel more confident. Maybe you would have to, you can get all that aligned. You can work on all those small pieces bit by bit. We teach a process of moving towards things little and often, right? It's not going to the studio, you have 1 day a week and you have 4 hour, 5 hours and you just cram it all in. It's much more powerful to work in small increments. Get 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there. Maybe some of you should be working while we're talking now, working in your
Mm,
book, keeping that
mhm,
fire burning.
mm,
Those small steps are what lead to the big outcomes. And if we can learn how to do the small steps in an enjoyable, cool, inspiring way, you got
mm.
it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I will say I've noticed from alumni that have gone through the program is that they exude this confidence in their work. They kind of feel like they've got this. Well, you can see it. You can see the work. You can
Yeah.
see an artist's work when they're feeling confident because it speaks. It's got an energy, hasn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
oh. And
Yeah.
so a lot of alumni that I've spoken to come out of this program feeling like, wow, I feel connected, and they're going off and showing it, and because they know it's powerful, strong work. It's like,
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
been doing the
Yeah.
stuff and you don't
Yeah.
doubt yourself. Of course, there's still going to be doubts, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. But it's so true that when you feel that passion for what you do, you want to get it out there. You want to talk about it. And the principles do help you talk about it too, because there's nothing worse than someone saying, oh, tell me about your art. And you go, I don't know. I just make,
Yeah.
and you've got nothing else, but you've got more to say. And
Right.
that's what I
Right.
think the program brings too, is that articulation. It helps you say, well, actually, this is what I was aiming for here. This part looks like this because of this,
Right.
and it gives you that context, that narrative to actually explain the work. And that makes you feel good, doesn't it? And I know myself, you were saying about how it applies to writing too. I've been sharing this with people that I've taken these principles, and I'm going through a season right now of just exploration, writing. I'm sculpting, doodling. It's just a phase that I'm in at the minute, which is just like, let's just play around. I've been in play mode for a long time now, but the principles have massively helped me as I've been writing recently. Even, when you talk about tonal values, I even do think of words having tonal values,
Yes. Oh my
some,
God. Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Words are like little paintings. I mean, they are so important. And me too, I've been doing so much writing.
Mm,
Um, it's really the same thing. If you look at the ebb and flow, the, if, um, if you look at Martin Luther King's speech, right? I have a dream. The way that speech, same thing with Steve Jobs, the way that speech rises and falls,
mm,
right? It drops down,
mm,
it goes up, it stays high, it
yeah,
goes down. I have a dream. It lifts you up, and then
yeah,
it describes the reality now. Then it lifts you up to what's possible. Then it describes the reality now. And
yeah,
he's casting a vision, a dream of where we're going. But it's not just somebody talking about a dream. It's using the contrast. It's using what's here and then where we're going. And
mm,
music is the same way. All stories, all films, it's all the same. It's doing
mm,
the same thing. We feel emotional. We feel connected
mm,
when we experience differences. Right?
yeah,
We have to fall in love with the hero in the movie in order to cry at the end when they finally come through. Right? We
mhm,
All of that, it's all the same thing, and we know this as human beings, but we as creators, we have to understand this, and
yeah,
we get lost in and you know judging ourselves and all kinds of challenges that get us bogged down. There's no money in art, or I am not talented enough, or all this nonsense that is out there that we're trying to wade through, trying to do this by ourselves in a little room. I mean, I don't even know if it's possible, and
mm,
I'm speaking from experience, you guys. I am 1,000% positive that anyone listening to this call right now, any of you, can do whatever you want. You can crush it in your art making. And I know if you have doubts and everything, I know because I went through this. I know I was the same way. I postponed what I wanted to do for decades. I didn't do what I was saying. And the reason I'm so excited about this is because it friggin' works. And
mhm,
I am certain I can hold absolute confidence for you until you can hold your own. It
yeah,
is available and it's sitting there right for you. If you want to make art a bigger part of your life or just want to make better art, this isn't luck, you guys. This comes with shifting how you're thinking about it, what you're excited about. You got to get your life amazing and your art will get amazing. You got to get your energy going. And that's what we're doing. It makes sense, right?
It does. I'm excited for everyone taking part because I know what's going to come, guys. It is
Yeah.
really exciting. So I remember going through that 12 weeks, and it is really like high energy. You
Yeah.
get so connected with what you're doing. You'll meet loads of really nice people. Let me know in the chat if you are signed up, by the way, to CVP. I'd love to know if you've decided to sign up or if you have any questions about joining. Now is the chance. Please do fire them away here. There was a couple of other questions that I was noticing yesterday. One of them was a sculptor, and she said, do you know how much content inside the CVP program covers kind of three-dimensional work?
All of it, right? This isn't, you guys, it's what we're teaching you. It's like saying, I'm going to teach you guys a principle called gravity. And people will say, yeah, well, will it work in my yard? Will the apples fall off the tree? What about me? Will gravity work on a sailboat? I live in Greece. Will gravity work? You guys, these are life principles. You can apply them to anything. And yes, I will talk about sculpture. I'll show pictures of, I just try to show it. And this year, the reason what's happened now is that it's not just my voice. I'm bringing in experts in the field of psychology, in artists, all the coaches. We've got 27 people involved in this, people that you will be hearing from that will be teaching this content of play and this concepts of like how to get unstuck, mindset, all this stuff. It's global. It's like we're bringing a ton of voices in. So it's not just my voice here, but everyone's teaching these ideas, the same content. We've got life coaches involved in this that help people understand how to unlock, how to open their thinking about what's possible for them. It's about opening up the possibility for yourself. We are the only barriers to what's achievable. And if you can just twist a couple things, if you can just unlock a couple of ideas, if you have any doubts about the fact that maybe you're maybe not talented enough, this is just like, okay, I'm kind of good at this, or I could never learn to do this. If you have any of that, that's what we zero in right away. We have to get you to realize that all of this is possible. Whatever you want to achieve, whatever you want to do, whether you want to do sculpture, or if you want to learn abstract art, or if you want to do more realistic, whatever that is, or have galleries, or just make amazing art, it's all available. And what's holding you back is how you're thinking. And it takes some time, right? We don't just become blisteringly confident overnight. We take small steps. You were sharing that when you came in the first time in CVP, you kind of were on the sidelines a little bit. That's what we see. We get it. Like, people don't post as much. Some people don't post at all. They don't say a thing the whole time. They just are there and they're just learning. Then the next year they come back and they actually post something and they're terrified and they'll write, oh my God, I waited a whole year and I'm posting this, because they're ready. They feel more confident. Then people will actually raise their hand, and then people will come on a call with me because they are so excited. There's a whole thing. We have ambassadors that come in, our alumni, who are so fired up about this, and they're helping. And some of them move on to become Art to Life coaches, right? It's like, there's a whole progression that is available, but it begins with just, I'm worth it. And I'm going to just see, I'm going to take a little bigger step. I'm going to try something. And you guys, this is, if you're not sure, and I get it, it's this massive investment and all the things. We have a 30-day money back guarantee. We don't want anyone stuck in this. You will learn so much in 30 days. You will stay. I'll just tell you right here, right now, we have such a small number of people who leave, but things happen, right? We had, a woman whose kids got, it was like family stuff, and things happen. And I'm not saying it's a perfect fit for everybody. You know, some people it won't be, but that's why we do that, right? We want to make it a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. One other question as well, and then I'm going to come to the chat, is around the support that you get. And I think there's some people scared that there's going to be lots of people inside this group and that they're going to get lost in a sea of people and maybe have a question and then they're not going to get it answered. Can you speak to that? I mean, you have done already about the support in there, but can you just reassure people that maybe, you know, during that 12 weeks, if they've got a question, how are they going to get that answered?
Yeah. So how this works is, and it has to do with the flow of the week. Each week on Monday, and it will be great for you guys to, if you go and you watch those video lessons, those overview lessons that I sent during the free workshop, those are how I do my lessons. But instead of getting one on Monday, you get about 7 or 8. This is the key information that I want you to learn. And underneath those videos is a place to ask questions, right? You watch it and you go, well, I don't totally understand. What do you mean loud conversation? Do you mean it's all the darks? Whatever the question is. And lots of people have questions, right? Of course, that's the whole thing with art. You move along until you get stuck, and then you get stuck and you're alone in your studio and you don't know what to do and you're stuck. And then you got to look it up or go on YouTube or whatever. You stop. Oftentimes people just stop when they hit that. But in the Creative Visionary program, you ask a question, and I have a small army of people, me included, that are all over that question. Every single question that is asked, and we're talking hundreds of questions, every single question that's asked in CVP is personally answered. And what's amazing is your question, we already know the questions that are going to come up based on where the level of the artist is. If you're a beginner, you'll have certain questions. If you're intermediate, you'll have certain questions. And if you're further along, you'll have certain questions. It's not like we've never done this before. We already know all the questions, and they'll be asked again. And so we know how to answer them. And we answer them in person, right? We write them out. We direct you to places where you can watch actual videos that explain it. And because you will ask a question and so will 10 other people, you can actually, you don't even really probably need to ask it. You'll just scroll up and see, somebody will have your question and you'll see the answer. So you're going to get not one answer to your question, but you're going to get about 8 answers to your question from different people, different perspectives. You can ask questions before my live calls come on to when I do a group call on Tuesday where I'm going over everything live. And that's another place I answer questions. The rapidity, the repetition of the questions and the answers, the speed at which you're answered is critical to the progress we intend you to have. It has to be fast. It has to be clear. And we've got to get you to go another few hours before you have another question. Then you ask, you're going through a process. You need to have all these questions answered. Each person is going to ask 100 questions. And we understand that. It's the only way you can learn. So so you're not waiting in line for an answer or something. This is the fastest way. I have been teaching artists in this way, and this is a group coaching program. I have been coaching artists since I've been 20 years old in this style. First in workshops with 20 people in a room, and now in the Creative Visionary program, as well as destination workshops, whether it's 10 people or 10,000. If I could wave a magic wand, our goal with Art to Life is to get this information into many people in the world. I want as many people into the Creative Visionary program because I know what it will do for people. I know the impact it's going to have on you, but also those around you and the impact it has in the world. People that are lit up and are creative and are fired up, it spreads. And this is the mission of Art to Life. So this is a fast way to teach you guys. It is the fastest way for people to learn this art making.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I went to art school for years, 4 years. And I would say during that 12-week period in your course, I probably got a lot more out of it than I did the art school. But what I will say though, was that at art school, what I loved most was the bouncing of ideas around with fellow students and going, what do you think of this artwork, and seeing other people's, and that's what you get in CVP. And that's the one thing I really do miss about art school. And so for me, to get that inside a program like yours, where you've got that big volume of people sharing, and it's like being in a big art studio all together at the same time. And for me, that's just priceless, to get that feedback from others, because I know other people probably just want your feedback, but this is something to remember, that art is subjective, and that actually getting feedback from a group of people and opinions, all different ideas, and how someone will see it and then someone else will see it in a completely different way is gold, that. And because everyone's been through not everybody, most people, 1,700 have been through the program. Inside there, everyone's on the same wavelength. Everyone's looking at the same principles together. And so it's not like you're going to sit out on the sidelines not being involved. You're going to be around everyone else looking at this in the same way. So that's why I would say is that if you are going to take part in this program, please do. I know you'll cover all of this when you onboard people into the program, but please do go and, comment in the group and share your artwork, because you'll get so much more out of the program. Okay, so I'm going to check now the chat. So, well, I signed up. I'd like to know if this is necessary to put color in all the space, or is it a good decision to leave a white space too? Oh, I don't know if that is in relation to one of your artworks, but if it is, you're going to get all of this help now you've signed up. I think it might have been an artwork that you've posted and we can't see it, possibly. So this is one to save for if you've signed up, which is awesome. This is one to save for when you get inside the community in CVP. And if anybody's interested in signing up for CVP, the link is above. Okay, what if you're still questioning your style? Oh, this is one. We're always questioning our style, Lou, and still early in your art journey. Can I just say, before Nick answers this one, I've been making art for 25 years and I'm still questioning, because I've just changed and evolved so much. And I'm at a point now where, I felt like I had established myself years ago in painting. And now it's just all sporadic and, all over the place. But I'm realizing that's the season I'm in. I'm in this season of just trying different things and seeing how they connect. So anyway, I'll let you speak to this one, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, let's see how, okay. So the way you guys need to think about this is that, and we see this with our kids, right? And I don't know if all of you guys have kids, but it's almost easier to see it in other people. We're all, I mean, I think we can all agree that we're all different, right? I mean, it's kind of a miracle, right? We're all humans, but no matter who you meet, we're all pretty different. And the longer you spend with your friends or whatever, and it's kind of amazing. She's always this, or my friend Noah he's so sensitive, or whatever the things are. We're just very, very different. All of us are totally different. And if you know this, and I think it's pretty obvious, there's 7 billion people, 7.5 billion people in the world, and we're all different. We're all absolutely different. So what we're doing, what art making does, is it's a way to develop who you are. It's a way to visually show who you are. And I know that's scary, just like it would be scary standing up in front of people and saying, you know what, I don't agree with what you guys are saying, or being seen. All of these things are scary, because when we're very scared, all of us we all feel a little frightened, a little questioning our own self-worth, me especially. I don't know, am I good enough, right? Am I, didn't do that so well, and all that stuff. But this is just, we all have this. But what art teaches us is that what we have inside of us is incredibly valuable, and it's different from everybody else. So you guys, style's not the question. You already have it all. Your style is your uniqueness as a human being. What I can help you do in a quicker rate is connect with that. And then I can show you how to translate that and how to show that in art. If you put something out in the world that feels like you, it will be different than what anybody else has done because you're different. If those two things are congruent, first of all, you're going to love doing it. It's super satisfying. You have a whole lifetime ahead to learn how to do this, but it will rise to the top of social media. People will come for it. You know, the reason people buy art, the reason people go to galleries is because, and these are people that, like, they don't necessarily make art, but they're walking around looking for something they can put in their house that will remind them that they're different. People talk about their art collections, right? You know, are the people that buy our work, right? Who are these people, right? They collect artists. They're expressing themselves by, oh my God, I bought her art and I discovered this person early on. And look at me, you guys, look at all the art I surround myself with. People see your work and if they connect to it, because it's like, wow, she sees the world in a way kind of like I do. Like, I love it so different. This isn't a photograph of a jungle. It's like how a jungle feels. And I love this. And I want to bring it home and put it in my house. And it basically reminds them of themselves. So they hang it in their house. That's the whole reason. And once you understand this, now you have a secret. Now you understand that this is like, okay, so I just have to make art. I mean, here it is. I just have to make art that I love. And my challenge is to figure out what I love doing, because if I love it, I'm more excited by it. It's easier to do. I friggin' love doing it, so I'm not going to be procrastinating. And are you saying, Nick, that if I do that and just put that out, that other people will come for it? And absolutely, that's the business plan, you guys. That right there. That's
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Do
It's
you know,
not choosing a style that people will come for. They'll only come for work that's authentic. You have to be real. It has to be truthful. I don't have a strategy for gaming this. This is not what we're
mm,
talking about.
mm,
I'm not here trying to sell a thing. I'm trying to share something that is so friggin' amazing. You can feel it. You can feel it when people are coming from a place of authenticity. It's super powerful. And
mm.
this is how we have to be in our art. So then you get confident. It's like, I don't even know how I made this art, but I friggin' love it. It feels so like me. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you like it or not, but for me, I love it. And you're going to have people, I'll take 3. I mean, you know.
I just, so this is a carving. So just to speak to what you've just been saying, sometimes you don't see your own voice in your work when you look at it. And I've had
Yes.
people send me artworks and say I don't have a style, and then they put like 5 artworks in front of me and I can see it. I can see like the delicacy of their line or the way they've applied their color with their brush, you know, in this heaviness, and they can't see the nuances that make them unique. And that is what you're talking about here. It's that uniqueness that sometimes you can't see it because you're so close to it. And in my paintings and in my drawings, there was kind of the quality of my line. I used to hate it because it felt quite naive. It felt, you know, I spent hours doing life drawing and I could never really perfect the proportions. And I used to beat myself up over it. But
Yeah.
now I've come to learn that I'm organic. And this piece here, which has all this mark making, when I created this very intuitively, when I look back at my sketchbooks from the last 20 years, I see this quality of line all the way through. You know, it's like it's been there, and I've been resisting it, thinking, oh, I should be this, I should be that. But actually, that this has been there the whole time. Does that make sense? So I
Yeah.
think what I'm trying to say is, you like Nick says, your style is already there, and in subtle nuances, and you can't see it. And that's what CVP will do. It will help you see those parts of your work that are you, that
And
are completely you.
and
Um,
and you
yeah,
guys, this is not a problem. This this sort of like, what's my style, or what am I needing to do? This is why you're here on planet Earth, to uncover what it is that you're here for, what it is that lights
mm,
you up. That's really that's like one of the primary purposes to be here, to have this life, to learn what it is that lights you up and then share it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
want to do this. It's so fun. Even if you have not a clue right now, thinking about it is exciting, right? We can
mm,
learn to uncover this. That's what art making is. It's a process of uncovering what it is that brings you alive. And when you start realizing that, it kind of is a kind of pretty cool thing to do. And if
It
it doesn't, then you could do something else, but it's like you're artists, you're here. The reason you're here is because you're particularly sensitive. You're like me. We artists are like this. We're always the people in the room that just feel more. And
Mm,
this is why you're listening right now, because your soul is saying, this has got to come out. I got this little problem here. I don't know my style. I'm trying to make art over it. What the hell am I doing? Your
mm,
soul is tugging at you to get this out. And you
mm,
need to get it out. You need to get this, release this. And the way to do it is in steps and get the information, right? And it's
mm.
not just me. It's like there's other teachers for you, other thoughts you need to bring in, more expansive, but it is all there already. There's nothing that, you have everything you need.
Yeah. And this, for me, this ties into my writing. The word imprint, I've realized, underpins everything that I do. The sculpture, the written work, it's all tied together. Doesn't look the same, but
Hmm.
it's tied together. And that, and this self exploration and this piece that now I just feel so connected to, and I love it. And actually, I used a lot of your principles when I was creating this. I was consciously thinking about the differences and the space. So and I worked intuitively with this, because this leads me to another question that was just on the screen here. Do you think that painters, artists instinctively create differences, value light, dark, and there may be an over awareness of these principles that cause you to overthink? Um,
Yes. Great question.
it is, yeah. And so I'll just speak to that from my perspective, and then I'll let Nick speak about the thousands of people that have taken it. Sometimes, I will be honest, there were times when I went through the program and you think, whoa, because you're using the head and you're processing this information, you're becoming aware of terminology, and all of a sudden now what something is and what that means. But I do think it's like learning anything. To begin with, you've got to kind of use your head to process it, and then you assimilate that in some way, and then when you come to make, it just flows out of you. Like, I wasn't sat there with my CVP coursework at the side of me making this, trying to tick off whether I've covered a difference, or whether it just started to come out as I was making. Intuitively, I'd come up for air and go, oh, I think I need to create a more emphasis here on the difference between this. But it just
Yeah.
starts to come in. So there could be an element of overthinking, but that doesn't mean you're going to overthink forever. It's just a
Right.
moment in time where you've got in your head, and you've got to just bring it back to the process. What are your thoughts on this? Because it's a good one. It might stop people signing up because they don't want to lose that intuitiveness, that freeness, by learning all the principles and having them in their head forever.
Right. So the way I used to make art, and maybe you guys can relate to this, I would sometimes I would just nail it. You know how you just do those pieces and it was like, oh, it's so good. And I was supporting myself, trying to. And so I wanted, and I could see it. It's like, when you do those ones that are like, I just love that, and it's like, oh my God, I'm finally like on it. Like this is good. And the gallery would be like, oh my God, yes, send that one right away. And I feel so good. And it would sell or whatever, and then I would do another thing, and it was like, yeah, I don't know. And I would try and copy the one that was good, and that was never as good, the second version, so I try and do something different, but it didn't relate, and it was like this roller coaster. It was like sometimes it would be good, and then other times I don't know. It was like, what was I eating? Something was I, and this is literally how the Creative Visionary Program came into existence. Like when I was 20 years old, I was working on this. I was trying to understand why I could make art one day and so good, and then the next day terrible, the next day awful, and then kind of better on Saturday. And I mean, it was just exhausting. So intuitively, we can like children, right? Their compositions are amazing. They don't understand design, but they have a more clear, direct connection to their intuition. We want to express what aliveness looks like. Kids don't put the sun in the center, they put it on the side, and they do a big tree. They do balance. They put differences in because it feels good. They're directly connected to that. They're not thinking, am I any good? They do when they hit about 8th grade and they all shut down. They stop making art, most of them. But when they're little, right, you see little kids go through those kindergarten things. It's amazing what kids do because they don't have any limiting beliefs yet. They're just expressing. And but so what your job is as an artist is you have to know, and I didn't then, I do now, and that's what I did, is I spent a lot of years figuring out what makes art, some of it great and some of it not. Why do people line up in museums to look at some paintings and other art is just overlooked? What is it? Is it just completely subjective? Well, it turns out it's not. There's a lot that goes into an amazing piece of artwork. And you have to understand why. You have to be able to look at the work. If you look at your work over the last year, and if we laid it out, any of you guys, if you were here in the studio, and this is a great thing to do, by the way, and we looked at your work, here's the 20 things I made, and I'd be able to point at, well, what happened to this one? Well, that one sold, or that's my favorite one. What are your 2 or 3 favorite ones? You need to understand why those are working, and you have to understand what are the principles that make that work, because that's the key to the rest of the work. You can take anything you've made and you can elevate it once you understand the principles, because it's not about subject matter. It's not about the colors are pretty or everyone likes seagulls. It has to do with these underlying principles that are drawing people to the work, and you especially. So you just have to understand that. And does it put you in your head a little bit? Absolutely. But so does riding a bike. If I'm going to teach you how to ride a bike, can you imagine? Okay, let me just describe how to ride a bike. You got to stand on this thing, and I know, you got to pedal, and you got to balance, and you got to point it straight ahead. And while you're pedaling, you got to get enough speed up. But once you start practicing this, you start to understand how to do it. And it's wobbly, you have training wheels and all of that. Is it fun to learn a bike? Not really, but once you're going, oh my God. But you have to get in motion with it. You have to practice it and try it and all the rest. But you want to learn how to ride a bike. You want to be able to go anywhere with this art thing. You want to be able to do this kind of work or that kind of work. But most important, you have to understand why people are drawn to the certain pieces they are. And I can, if you laid out 10 of your paintings, I know I can choose which piece people are drawn to. You can see it in an instant.
Yeah. And if you look at all the other creative faculties like dance and music and writing and literature, and, the same process is this kind of learning the principles to begin with, the notes, the tunes, or the style of movements. And then once you've learned them, then you intuitively practice them and fine tune them. And it's rare that someone would just write a song and then just leave it there. There would be some coming back to it of, or let's just change that word for this word, to make that experience enhanced or more impactful for the person experiencing it. And it's the same kind of thing for art, isn't it? It's like sometimes we can pour something out and it needs a bit of fine tuning. Not everything is going to pour out of us and be perfect and be amazing.
No,
it needs to come back. Yeah. And that's what we're doing here.
And let me say that, yes, there's intellect, right? There's intellect, there's thinking. How does composition work? But there's also intuition. And, people don't talk about this. It's not, you use intellect and you use intuition, and you use them and you switch back and forth. And I would say more marks and more things you do in your art are based on intuition. At least that's the goal, right? You want both, though. You need both, and you don't do them together. You do them back and forth. I go into the intellect, I go into the intuition. I go back to intellect, and then I lose control and I just do something. And now I analyze it and look at it. And now I go back. And we as artists need to be able to go back between that left brain, right brain, really quickly and efficiently and smoothly. They're not combined, they're separate. But here's the clicker here with it, that intuition and intuition are opposites. They create differences. The thing that you do when you're thinking and the thing that you do when you're intuitive are different. They're opposites. And we need to put them together in the same place. And then you get contrast. And when you have contrast, you have energy and you have interest and you have drama. You have a villain, you have a hero, right? You have a story. You move people emotionally. This is what we're doing, you guys. We're translating how we feel to the world. And man, when you land it, it's like bees to honey, man. People will just you see it on their faces. That's what making the art of your life is like. That's the kind of art that I'm talking about. It's really a powerful thing that we all have the capacity to do, and you know it intuitively. That's why you're learning this. You want to keep going. That's what's at the end for you. This is what you can do.
Mm. Mm. We're going to
It's
have
so
to wrap up.
exciting.
I know you said to me, how long do you think we'll be? And I was like, oh, just half an hour. I mean, who was I kidding? Who was I kidding when I said we'd be
Yeah.
sat
Well, it's a
talking?
great subject. I
It
mean,
is.
I love this. I love this so much.
And we can
And I'm
tell.
making art while we're talking, so
I
it's
love
fine.
it. It makes a lot of sense. It's addictive listening to him. Yeah. And if you want more, you can listen for 12 whole weeks.
Well, there's 20 other people that are
Yeah.
amazing. People that have helped me, psychologists, coaches. I'm bringing an amazing creative team to this subject. You guys are, and I've never done this before. I started bringing different kinds of experts with me on these creative visionary programs. That's where on these destination workshops where 30 people, 50 people come working with them. So the people who are coming, who I have learned so much from, and so I'm sharing these different perspectives with the people in the creative visionary program. So it's going to be powerful. And so it's not me for 12 weeks. Oh my God, that would be so annoying.
In my second CVP experience, love your conversation. Oh, Lou, that's amazing. I'm glad to hear that you're going through it a second time round. And so we're about to wrap up, my friends. If you have any last questions, fire them in now. I know there was some questions like how much paint do you use in a year? That's one question that came in. Do you know the answer to that?
Well, I use these, I use these little bottles of paint, and I've got 3 sets, and the sets have 24 colors in them. And by the way, in the Creative Visionary program, we give you the materials list is for color, especially. We have like specific colors, right? You're going to get you need all the basic colors, the cadmiums and all that, but there's warm versions and cool versions, a certain blue, because of the way we teach color is we teach, the whole thing with color, but you need to understand that there's cool versions of colors and warm versions and how to mix them all together and complementary. So it's a fairly, there's about 24 colors you need. We have art kits, but you can get these at any art store. So my kits, to answer the question, there's about 24 of these in each kit. And usually there's other people making art with me here, but we've got 3 kits on this table. But then I've got the bigger container of white. And then these are giant tubes of the same color. And these are what I use in my large paintings upstairs. So I'm painting, I do small things down here, just in my book and stuff. But then when I'm making large paintings, I'm going through, gallons of paint because it's bigger, larger paintings for galleries and stuff. So.
Lou's got one question here. I'm just going to wrap up. So it's quite a big one. I'm dissect it. So I understand you only use acrylic paint in the program. So could you just give an example of how this translates into other mediums? And I apologize, I'm dipping out of this looking after family. So I'm sorry if you've already explained this. But so yeah, if she wants to use another medium, how would that work if you're teaching it with acrylics?
Well, you can use any medium you want, but I want to tell you why we use acrylic. And if you've never used acrylic, I would give it serious consideration to learn. So you're learning information in the Creative Visionary program that can be applied to any medium. But the reason we use acrylic is that it dries quickly. It's not toxic. But the reason, and because it dries quickly, you can change things quickly, and you can correct things and lose control and cover it up. And so the learning rate with acrylic, the way we approach this, you will do something and then you will change it, is fast. And that's the whole point, is for you to learn a ton in 12 weeks. So if it was oil paint, yes, you can do that, but then you got to wait for everything to dry. I could not demonstrate with oil paint quick enough to show you like a progression. Now,
Yeah.
I use oil paint. I know how to use oil paint, whatever. But, I'm making art talking here, and this is dry already. I'm already like working on this thing. So that's a great material to use. But if you don't want to learn acrylic, then you could use watercolor. People use water. You can use it with oil paint, but it is kind of harder because you have to wait for it to dry. So that's my only caveat. But lots of people do it with acrylic. Some people have gone through this program and all they did was listen. They didn't even make art. And Stacy on our team, when she did it the first time, she was working on for a show, and all she did was listen to the lessons and the live calls while she was making her art, and her art took off. So you can do this. You're probably going to come back and do it the second year. And by the way, we heavily discount this once you've done it once. So people come back because we know that people they want to come back. So it's heavily discounted. So, we never got around to saying, really, this is like, you want to do this several times, you'll see, but yeah, so that's why we use acrylic, but you can do it with whatever you want. But I would, for your growth and for your learning, I would use a material that dries quickly. You could do this with cut paper and collage. That would work too. That's really quick, right? You can change things,
I think I just want to emphasize what Nick's saying. It's the principles that you're learning. And so to go through the program, you're learning the principles so that you can apply that to any medium going forwards. And so even if you sculpt, getting the acrylic paints out and going through the principles with paint is giving you that kind of knowledge, how, in terms of how to translate that into a 3-dimensional form afterwards, so it's I think that's what you've got to remember here. It's not learning how to use acrylic, it's using the principles.
Yeah. And it's also learning how to be more playful in your work.
Yes.
It's learning how to really trust your intuition. It's learning, there's so much here, right? We teach a process, a way of working on a series, and why that works, and all this stuff. So it's not just like these principles, it's all of it. It's everything. You got to understand color, whether you're doing sculpture or whatever you're doing. You got to know how to mix colors. You got to understand why colors look good with each other, why they don't, how to move your eye around with color, what's warm, what's cool, complementary tones, tints, all of that, saturation, harmony, you got to be able to use all this art making information to create whatever it is you want. What happens for people is they say, oh, I can imagine doing this amazing thing, but I'm not very good at, color. So I'm going to just keep it in a limited palette because that's safe. Or I can't draw. I don't know how to draw people. So I'll just glue photographs in it. Right. You can learn how to do anything you want, but you need to have the basic tools and the understanding of these materials, color, especially design, value, color, texture. You have to understand risk. How is risk part of art making? You have to have risk in art making. In your art, you have to take chances. You have to try things you haven't done before. It brings energy. You have to have all parts of yourself in your art. All parts, the insecure part, the confident part, the intuitive part, all of it needs to come in for your art to become as powerful as you instinctively, intuitively are. This is about you. The tagline of Art to Life is you are a work of art, and it's what you use to make the art of your life. It's you. You've got it all. We're just going to help you unlock it all. That's really what we're doing.
Yay! Thank you. That was a lovely ending.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Hi, Chris. I know Chris has just joined. Chris is over in the US as well. There we go, my friends. That's it. Well, that's a wrap. So I just want to take a minute to say thank you to Nicolas for coming in. I know you're super busy at the moment with CVP being open for enrollment, so we really appreciate you coming to speak with us.
Oh yeah. I
really
love it. I
Yeah,
love it, and I love what you're doing and helping so many people, and
yeah,
and it's just community's everything. So I'm really excited for any of you guys coming in, and
yeah.
it's going to be great.
Yeah, and thank you for the incredible workshops too. If you've got questions still, if you're watching the replay of this, put them into the chat below. We will come back. We'll be monitoring the chat over the next few days if you've got questions about joining. You know, I don't affiliate for anybody. I literally don't. Nicholas is the only person, and I
Yeah,
do not share anything unless I 100% wholeheartedly know that it is
yeah,
a great program, and I would not come here and share it if I
yeah,
didn't know you were going to be taken care of and get something out of it. So
yeah,
leave you with that. And if you've got any questions for us, do let us know.
yeah.
So we wish you the very best with the rest
Awesome,
of your enrollment, and can't wait for the experience on the other
awesome.
end for people that go through the program. So yeah, thank
Okay,
you again.
all right. Well, we'll stay connected. Bye,
Yeah,
you guys. Thanks so much for your time.
yeah.
Okay, see you
Okay, see you
soon.
all soon.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.